مشيها الله يرضى عليك. احنا بنحكي عشان من ناحية عدل يعني كل واحد نص ساعة نص ساعة. عبد الله في شيء لحظة اللي وراك بس حبوا عارف يخلص نص ساعة. اها
تنفس اكيد سوى
Guys, I know it was a long day, but allow us now. Thank you for heating us the plate so we can put our butter now and you can enjoy the presentation. I will leave the floor to our friends Paul.
حسسني يعني باكل chicken better.
Good afternoon everyone. My name Fatma and my colleagues Suhail, Abu Ubaida and Dawood. We would like to thank our guests Dr. Sandra and Dr. Abul Aish to attend our presentation today. We hope that you enjoyed and we will be more than glad to receive your questions at the end. Our presentation today about carbon emissions by oil and gas analysis and solutions. As you see, the background of our slides is black as our current situation. And after we watched the video last time about the climate change, it's simple for Mr. Robert David. We see that even the future of our kids and the upcoming generations, it's worse and black too. Our outline, we will try to cover as much as we can about CO2 and ADNOC as a case study during our limited timing. When you will hear us talking about CO2, you will feel, okay, they are talking about greenhouse gases and climate change. No, we are talking today about the CO2 and its effect, actually the negative effect and the temperature increase. Do you know that 26 billion tons of CO2 yearly released to the air?
And that is 50% from who?
And
from Volkswagen.
The CO2 equation is from people, service per person, energy per service, and the CO2 per unit energy. People, as we know that more than 7 billion, the population of the whole world, consuming a lot of things and releasing a lot of CO2 in the world. The services which the 7 billion using, like in house, schools, street, everywhere. The energy per service, such as the automobile, heat, etc. And here I will keep the picture talk about the CO2 consumed per energy. Why people those days crazy about oil? Why everyone run behind oil? Because the energy coming from 1 cubic mile of oil equal to the energy coming over 50 years from 4 dams, 52 nuclear power plants, more than 90 million solar panels, 32 850 wind turbines, and 104 coal-fired plants. But how we did reach here? The present day problem is the climate change. The beginning of the problem is the discovery of oil in UAE. Early beginning is the scarcity of energy in the world, and the earlier beginning is the industrial revolution. Now I will hand over to my colleague Dawood to talk about the impact of the CO2.
Okay. Was it really a black, as Fatma showed us, or it was just something that we like to see? Looking at the mind mapping, which is fairly realistic, global warming considered to be far worse than wars, famine, plague, and global nuclear war. Just considering less than 1% or 1 degree increment in the temperature, we can see the sea level rising. And looking at the extreme, where the temperature could reach by 6 degrees, we can go to beyond mass extinction of people and humans. So it's realistic and it's real. And a picture worth 1,000 words, this is what they say. This is what we are doing towards our globe. We are not only exploring, we are exploiting our nature resources for whatever reason it is, for services, for goods and services, for products we need to. And not looking at things are going worse from it's being naturally there. Now, how are we affecting our environment, doing our business? Now, it has 5 angles. First one is the atmospheric impact, and that could be shown by flaring, venting, and purging gases, which are most familiar in oil and gas. Secondly comes the aquatic impacts, and that's also the main impact of producing waters or drilling fluids and so on. Afterwards, we can go to what is shown here. I'm not really sure if you can read that or not. Is the statistical impacts, and that's obviously coming from the disturbance as a result of construction. And I feel someone saying that you never mentioned construction in this. Next one is the ecosystem, and it's basically the disturbance we are doing towards our plants and water resources. Last one but not least is the potential emergency, and that's generally all explosion, fires, and water spills and oil spills in the natural resources we see in the waters. Should we not do or not consider, should we not pay enough attention to the existing situation? What could happen to our businesses in particular? Firstly, there is a physical risk that can be, or already we are experiencing some of these that are shown in global warmings, increasing, which is literally increasing the sea level of waters and so. Business risk, yes, we've got the extreme weathers, and the condition is getting very bad. We've experienced a tornado recently, or typhoon in eastern of GCC, which was not any popular things long time ago. The next one could be the competitive risks, which is the effect of gross refining margins. And the last one is, I think, it's the bottom line of any business. We are going to, I think Abdullah or Sohail are going to talk about the Kyoto, but governments are going to start, or some sort of nations are going to start assigning tax against all these carbon emissions and so. And literally it's going to achieve or reduce the profitability of the oil and gas. I think I've said what I needed to say.
So, why are we interested in this subject? We believe that our future is looking at us right now by remembering what did we do at these days. What we do today is really important, that will impact the future, and it will impact the decisions that we make today will impact them tomorrow, and they will remember us. And we want them to remember us in a good picture. What is sustainability? There's a lot of definitions of sustainability. I like this definition actually by the former Norwegian Prime Minister Gro Harlem, where he said that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. How can we do that? This is what we did in our solutions and how we looked at it. We looked at the expert solutions in oil and gas, and we looked at what UAE is trying to do. And what we did also is that we segregated our solutions into 2 sectors, which is the linear sector and the systematic sector, and we tried to criticize each of these sectors according to the inputs that we have. And if we say the linear approach, what do we mean by linear approach? Most of the linear approaches is that we consider the things that not really tackling the source of the problem. It's only like putting the horse blinders and moving towards solving the issue. Now, if we see ADNOC Linear's approach, ADNOC is trying now to do istidama buildings, is trying to reduce flaring, is trying to use cars with gas, and they are also trying to use solar panels for their 1,000 wells, and for street lightings, and for a lot of things. Also, what is they are trying to adopt is the Kyoto Protocol. We'll talk a little bit about Kyoto. Kyoto actually is the biggest agreement done by the UN with the most developed countries. We say most because there are some countries that did not accept to sign. Actually, it was started in 1979, and the goal of it was to reduce 5% of the emissions at that time in 2008. And we will see if this has happened or not. They actually used a system of UN will give each signed country from the developed countries a particular amount of carbon that they can emit every year. What will happen is that if country A achieves its target, they are fine. If country B did not achieve and they are overdoing it, they will be charged. And if country C is not doing it and they are doing less emissions, they can sell what's extra to the country B, and in order to reduce the charges. And this is what it's called CDM, where the countries will try to either develop also projects in the undeveloped countries trying to reduce their emissions. Also, they will take credit from the Kyoto, from the UN. So, what is the expert solution also? What the experts are seeing in the linear approach? They are also saying recovery of utilization of gas from oil wells, also steam optimizing systems, flare reduction, baseline monitoring methodologies, and the recovery and utilization of waste gas in refineries. What we think, if this is right or wrong, what we saw is that Kyoto Protocol is not really achieving what's the targets. And they are not really even close to what they are aiming to do. Why is that? It's because not all of the countries signed, especially the biggest 10, which is US, India, and China, they are not part of the Kyoto Protocol, and they are the biggest polluters in the world, and they are not part of it. So what's the use? And the biggest problem that we saw in Kyoto is that if I sign today, I can get out tomorrow, no penalties, nothing I can have. It's up to me. I can remove my signature at any day from the Kyoto Protocol. I will leave the floor now to my friend Suhail to talk to you about system thinking.
Thank you, Abdullah. So what is system thinking? System thinking allows managers to have a 4D view of the problem. It allows managers to step back and have a balcony view of the entire system where they can plan their actions and see what the reactions can be for those actions. So what are the expert system solutions we have right now in the market for oil and gas? We have direct air capture, we have carbon capture and storage, we have geosequestration, we have enhanced oil recovery, we have geocar and renewables. In our presentation, we'll be focusing on DAC, which is direct air capture. So I'm just going to tell you what direct air capture is. We have some equipment which will suck carbon out of the atmosphere. They treat the carbon with some chemicals and turn it into a carbonate. This liquefied carbon is then transported and converted into an acid. So what is the systems thinking at ADNOC? What systemic solutions have they implemented? ADNOC is using enhanced oil recovery. What that is that they have depleted oil reservoirs at ADNOC. They pump these reservoirs with carbon dioxide, which improves which extracts oil from these reservoirs, and they think this solution is benefiting the UAE economy and the environment.
But Suhail, don't you think really that this is not a solution? It's like the biggest companies that using the CO2 that they are collecting is soda companies. And if you put in a soda company, in a soda can, the gas, you open it, it's out. Or you drink it and you burp, it's out. So what's the use? Is it really a solution?
Well, thank you, Abdullah. We'll use this to critique the system solutions. So we're critiquing ADNOC's solutions of enhanced oil recovery. So what they're doing is, as we mentioned, is that we're going to put carbon into the ground, and we hopefully think that the carbon will stay in the ground, and then we will produce more oil. This oil will be burned as fossil fuel, and it will emit more carbon dioxide into the environment. So this is not a solution to a sustainable solution for climate change. We're going to critique now the solutions of the experts. So the experts say that we can use direct air capture to solve the climate problem, but direct air capture equipment requires a lot of energy. And the scientists claim that they can get that energy from renewable sources or other energy sources. Now, instead of using renewable sources to power these direct air capture equipment, we can use it to directly offset carbon emissions. Also, transportation of captured carbon is very expensive. So now we'll discuss. Now we've seen here that all the companies, organizations are working in silos to solve systems, to solve sustainability issues. We're going to now discuss our system thinking diagram. Now in this loop, what we have here is that we're burning fossil fuels, which is help. Can I have that? Thanks. Alright, so in this loop, this is a reinforcing loop. We're burning fossil fuels, we're growing our economy, and we're increasing emissions. This is a reinforcing loop. In the next loop, we have price. Now what's happening here is that we're burning a lot of fossil fuel, which is growing the economy, but this is reducing our fossil fuel reserves. When we have less oil, the price of oil increases, which is causing us to burn less fossil fuels. This is a balancing loop. Okay, this is one of the solutions that we talked about, direct air capture. So what's happening here is that we have emissions. These emissions are being captured by direct air capture technology, and we're converting the carbon into jet oil and gasoline. This is used by airplanes, and these airplanes are emitting carbon, and then again our direct air capture technology will capture that carbon and turn it into jet fuel. This is a balancing loop. Then we have EOR, which is used by oil companies. Emissions, we have carbon, we get oil out of the ground by injecting carbon, and we're increasing our fossil fuel reserves.
Enhanced oil recovery.
Enhanced oil recovery, yes. Okay, here we have geosequestration. What we do here is we're capturing carbon and we're burying it into the ground, and there's a permeable layer in the ground which is keeping the carbon in the ground and is helping reduce the climate change. Then we have forests here. We have a lot of trees here. Now, as we know, trees are naturally sucking carbon out of the atmosphere, and they form a natural carbon sink in the morning. And then here we have biochar. Now what's happening here is that we burn the plants, we convert them into charcoal, and we bury them in the ground. This improves the fertilization of the soil, which increases agriculture and food for the growing population. This is here. And then we have the climate change here. So what climate change is doing here is that we're increasing the temperature. We're increasing the temperature of the surface of the land, which is reducing the precipitation in the atmosphere, which is causing drought, which is reducing our food supplies for our population, for the world. And then the increase in temperature is also increasing the surface temperature of the sea. This is increasing the sea levels, which is reducing the land and reducing our capabilities to grow more food. And then we have emission mitigation strategies like using renewables like nuclear, using converting carbon into acids. This is helping us to reduce emissions. Alright, so what are the consequences? Thank you. Well, the consequences are that we will lose hundreds of jobs in UAE, but thousands of children will be born without diseases, without famine, and without a planet in which they can live in. Why is that? If we convert the energy mix now, from conventional to renewable, people will lose jobs because they cannot work in these new sites. But this is a small price to pay for the future, for the children. Okay, so this is an impact of the environmental impact of the climate change. We'll have a lot of diseases like asthma, cholera, diarrhea. So what are the recommendations? Recommendation. We need to have a Supreme Council in the UAE that makes a strategy for sustainability, because everyone is doing their part and they're not communicating with each other for a sustainable solution. They need to have this Supreme Council, and we need to change the mindset about carbon from a pollutant to an asset, because we've seen from our readings and research that people are using carbon and turning it into assets. Alright, I will hand over the floor to Abdullah.
Okay, you think we are over? We are not. What we want is energy merit. Can we have that?
Angela.
Can we have that? We hope so. So also what's needed is another energy market. Okay, with all of these resources we talked about, nuclear, renewable energy, carbon emitting, and but we still have one wish. Can we reach this?
No. Unless we will.
In the right now, we cannot.
Unless we
But
live
you know
in
why?
jungle, like before.
We are talking about organizations, we are talking about companies, we are talking about government sponsors, we are talking about government programs that's trying to do. But what about us? Aren't we part of the problem? Aren't we actually the cause of the problem? Our behavior,
We are 0.0001.
what we are doing today is because of our behavior. We are used to do things the wrong way. What if we see that to start changing, we should admit that this is our problem. That we should admit that these things is caused by us. If we start really believing in these things, as the girl said, there's a lot of initiatives that can be done, and if we start changing our life cycle, maybe we can really push governments. We are the power to really put new constitutions, change the rules and regulations, but if we don't really care, who cares? So we hope that everyone will go out from this class today with some hope that they will change at home or change at their workplace or change somewhere to really help with reducing carbon emission. If you see in heating and cooling, what can we do? There's a lot of things we can do. Like adjust the clothing. When you are at home, when you feel cold, you just go switch off the thermostat. Keep the thermostat fixed. Change your clothes. It's easy. Now, convert the hot water. 17% of the energy wasted at home is because of heating water. Why don't we install blankets on the water heaters, install low flow shower heads, insulate hot waters, take shorter showers, as the lady said. Can we? Okay, conserve the cars. Instead of going everyone with his own car, we can pool, we can use public transport. There's a lot of things that we can do as human beings to reduce this.
We're carpooling from Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, see, we are also CSR. Conserve electricity. What can we do? There's a lot also. Unplug chargers. We have a habit by just keeping the charger at the wall, charge our phone, remove the charger later. But it's consuming power. We don't know that. It's consuming power. Vacuum the coils in the back of the fridge monthly. The coils that's building up on the back of the fridges is causing a lot of energy also. Make your next computer a laptop, because laptops is
service.
Yeah. Install timers or motion sensors outdoors, like AOS. AOS is doing a good thing by using this. With our money, of course. Reduce waste. Why don't we support people who use recyclable stuff and buy these things? Carry clothes bags when shopping, use refillable travel mugs or water bottles, give your time instead of material gifts, donate charity. All of these things are solutions that really can happen. Because one thing, we want all to go home. And there is no place like home. And there may never be again. So do your best.
I think after today I'm gonna walk home and I will not take a shower.
And I bet you can stand beside you.
Also, one command: if we don't want to use CO2 for enhanced oil recovery, we have water systems.
But I
So we have one minute for this presentation. Thank you very much. Dr. Do you have any questions, or you're not really fine?
No, thank you very much for this.
No problem.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
I
want to hear your voice, so you have to ask.
I'm looking forward to read the report. Obviously, some interesting information. Where I'd like to understand a little bit more about ETNOC and where they should be going. I know we've answered what we have to do, and we're part of the system, right?
No, but actually our proposal was for UAE in general. In our recommendation, we are proposing a Supreme Council to sit and bring not only ADNOC. ADNOC cannot do anything by itself, but as we know, that the biggest polluter is not oil and gas, it's water and electricity. They are the biggest emitting of CO2. But again, this is misleading information. Because oil and gas is the biggest people using power and electricity, water and electricity from these people. So we are, again, oil and gas is the biggest.
To get 1 barrel of water,
you need
oil,
3 barrels of oil, of water, to get 1 barrel of oil. So we are a big consumers also of water and electricity. What we really saw from, if you see the model we try to draw, is that if ADNOC keep thinking, doing solution by itself, they will not reach anywhere. But if the UAE started sitting all together, saying that, okay, and we recommended one point, which is making CO2 as an asset. If we make it an asset, then private companies will invest. Governments will help in their investment also to make this reutilization of CO2. We can change a lot of these things into our profit and the country profit. So this is what we can see. If ADNOC will keep working, and ADNOC is investing, by the way, every year in their sustainability projects around $15 billion in all their group, of course, not one company. So it is a huge number, but can ADNOC continue now with oil prices? Of course, they will not do this year anything. But what about next years, other years? If ADNOC will stop doing sustainability, it means that there is no more projects to control these things? No. But what about Adwiyah? What about, water and electricity? What about agriculture? This is our proposal. Why don't we utilize agriculture in the solution? We are not mentioning UAE is now desert. If we use the solution of Biocore into the agriculture, we can farm more land. We can use, as the lady said, we can use trees more. We can make greens more with very low cost. So it is a system of a country. It's not like one company can do it.
So, as we mentioned in our presentation, that they're using enhanced oil recovery. They're working with Masdar for carbon capture, and they've made a company called Al Husn Gas in the ADNOC group. They're building pipelines to get this carbon for industrial uses. But this project is currently in progress. ADNOC is the first company in the Middle East to use EOR for.
Yes, you explained quite well what the downsides are of that. Do you think they are thinking thinking about becoming a circular economy in some way, shape, or form, or is that not there?
Well, it's there in a minimal level. They're not quite there yet because the oil prices have really created havoc for.
They're stopping their own project now, so
a lot of projects are being put to halt.
Hopefully, we'll stay in place. They will not.
No, but the fair system is there.
Yeah.
We are realizing we're having a problem.
Yes.
So the intention is there.
So what ADNOC has also done, we are ISO certified for energy management. What is it?
Energy.
5001. 5001. So what that does is that's all paperwork and lip service, because it's very easy to fool the auditors.
But it is
we do it every day.
ISO is energy
efficiency. But it creates awareness within the employees that we have to think of this thing, and then we have these HSC awards, health, safety, environment, of thinking of how we can reduce our energy consumption, or think of because we're in the process, we're like there at the plants at this, and when we can propose solutions as employees, and we get rewards for that every year if some idea is accepted by management.
This is excellent. So I would say thank you very much, everybody, for a good ending to some hard work.